Vaughn's reporting is always 100% correct, but it requires us to pull another layer off the onion. I mean, Trump won the popular vote. Trump has a mandate to do whatever he wants. Trump just has to be 1 inch shy of his worst impulses, and he soars into Washington really with a mandate. I mean, I think it reveals a deeper phenomena, I think, that one, he still doesn't really understand power in Washington to turn to this weak leader tool. That's what the recess appointment is. It is, again, and I've worked for people who've had to use it, but only when their approval ratings were at the low point of Bush's presidency. It was after re-election. He was the lame duck, and he was struggling to get his appointees through. That's when he used it. Again, President Obama, at a point where he couldn't get people through any other way. I mean, it is not a tool used in a position of strength. What does it say to you that this is how he wants to bring his first batch of cabinet members into Washington?
Well, three things. First of all, I mean, this is his first shot across the bow of any idea of checks and balances. Number two, he is demanding absolute loyalty from the U.S. Senate, as opposed to thinking of Congress as a co-equal branch of government. You know, he is basically saying, look, here's my loyalty test. I want you to take a knee for me even before I take office. And of course, Rick Scott was the first guy to actually assume that position. And then number three, what you've been discussing is that, you know, despite his victory, he apparently would like to install people in the cabinet who are perhaps too extreme even for the Republican Party. I mean, I think the default position that we ought to have here, Nicole, is that the Republican Party will always disappoint us and will always cave in. But having said that, he obviously has some concerns about what would happen if he appointed Rick Grinnell to a top position, or Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as, you know, to his cabinet as some sort of a health, you know, not a health czar, but, you know, HHS. So he obviously is thinking that there are some people who are too toxic even for a Republican majority. But I do think the most interesting thing here is how will the Senate Republicans react to this? Because the power of advice and consent is one of the Constitution's most important functions, to say that this is one of the key powers of the U.S. Senate. They are not just potted plants. They do not work for the president. For the Republican Senate to come in and preemptively surrender would be a stunning dereliction of duty, but also just an indication that they no longer take their co-equal branch of government position seriously. So I think that Donald Trump is basically saying, I want to have unitary control over all government. He's demanding absolute loyalty, and he's signaling that he is going to make appointments that will be too toxic to get through a 53 vote Republican majority Senate.
I'm never